And what just happened in the background is ClinicTracker figured out all of the things that needed to happen based on the rules that we've created. All right, and I could tell you that we're done right now, but and just tell you to take my word for it, but we'll dig in a little bit deeper. All right, so a bunch of things happened in the background, and now let's go figure out what they were and how to see exactly what happened and what the follow-up steps are. Right, one of the quickest ways to get there is this quick info pane, which you can click here. You'll see this on the top of almost every form, or you can hit the, I'm going to hit the F12 key on my keyboard, and it's going to bring up our quick info panel here. All right. I can get back to this at any time. When I click away, it'll go away. If I click F12 or up here, it'll show again. And so we have our various tabs here, and one of those is for compliance, so our compliance with our workflows. Right. So it looks like just based on creating that record, all right, a bunch of things happened. And so just because I had some other rules set up, but the one that we're going to focus on is right here. Okay. Just because I created a demographic record for a patient over 18 who was in the OCD study patient group, ClinicTracker and the workflow builder realized, okay, we need to take this workflow and apply it to the patient. Right? And the one task that was associated with that is that we need to lock this sample assessment. Okay. So that task is now an open task in the system. And much like with the scheduler, how you can look at a single event, but you can look at it with a patient name selected in the resource list on the right, or you can look at it with a staff member selected so that you're doing a staff schedule. It's really the same event, right? Same concept here. We can look here, all right, and see from the quick info pane. I can jump over to the patient compliance either by clicking this icon here or by jumping over to the compliance section on the ClinicTracker main screen. All right, and here is the workflow that was applied. All right, so here's what we just created. And the exact same thing that I just saw on the quick info pane for the patient, I can see on the patient task dashboard here, that we need to lock this intake assessment, right? And here's who's responsible. If I was a staff member, I would be able to see the exact same thing by going to staff and then staff task dashboard. Okay. And then I can look, and you can have all sorts of options here for how to search and limit this form. But here, the exact same task, just a different way of looking at it, right? Before we were looking at a patient record and saying, okay, show me all of the things that were tests that were open for that patient. Now I'm looking at a staff member and I'm saying, okay, what are all the tasks that this staff member needs to complete? All right, so all different ways of seeing the exact same thing. Right. Regardless of where you are and how you get there, I will jump back over here to our demographics, go back to quick info. All right, here's the task that needs to be completed. So what I could do is I could open this sample assessment form, I could go find our SpongeBob test patient, and then I could start completing it. Or we make it easy for you by just double clicking, okay? Double clicking means I'm ready to address this task, right? And what's gonna happen is it's gonna pull open our sample assessment, and it's gonna know that we were already working with SpongeBob, and it's gonna have me go ahead and do what I need to do. All right, so I'm going to complete this assessment, and this is just an example of a custom form. So whatever you've defined for your agency, whatever forms you've built for your sample assessments. Looks like we got a couple tabs over here, so I'm just gonna save this record right now. All right. And I built in some more validations here that we require patient signatures. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in. Okay. And I can save again. Right. So it's great that I started this assessment. It's great that I filled in some information. I had the patient sign off on the record. But if I go here back to the quick info pane, I still have this open task, right? And that's because the requirement of our task wasn't open the form or start the form or save a change to this assessment. It was that we need to lock it, right? I've been saving, but I haven't yet said I'm finalizing and I'm done and I'm locking off this record, right? So now I'm gonna go ahead and choose that option. I'm gonna hit the save button. All right, I'm getting the prompt about that this is gonna lock the record. Okay, we just accomplished something now, right? The system said, hey, good job. It looks like you have done something that matches up with a task that you were supposed to do. Okay. And so we get this pop-up and it says, you've just completed the compliance locking of your sample assessment. Here are open tasks that would make sense that you probably were intending to complete. All right, and now do you want to mark this item complete by virtue of the fact that you just created and locked this assessment? Okay. A couple different ways you can configure your system. In this case, we have this form always showing, just so you can see kind of what's happening. You can also configure your system with a configuration setting that says, if this form was ever going to show and there was only one item that matches up, right? Only one task that would make sense that we were trying to accomplish, don't even show this to the clinician. Just assume that they needed to complete this assessment, they completed it, we're done, right? And essentially the difference is, does this screen show or does it show but not to the user, and it simulates showing on screen and saying mark is complete, saying that this compliance task has been achieved. Right? Assuming the form is showing on screen, I can say add some comments if we want, and then we can mark it completed. Okay. Now, if I return to the quick info pane and I hit F5 to refresh, you'll see that that item just dropped off. Okay. So we still had some of these other tasks that were pending, but the one that said that you need to lock your sample assessment is no longer there. Okay. So the system kind of automatically recognized all that. It knew that you had a task due for something. It knew that you completed whatever that something was. In this case, Josh, the intake coordinator, pulling up a sample assessment, completing it, and locking it. And then once it was complete, it knew that the task had been achieved and we no longer needed to present that as an open task.